been like consistent, like 10K above months.
Downloaded it. I checked the date, July of 2021. And then I left my job in September of 2021.
Since then, I've sold websites. I've pivoted my business. I'm no longer doing social media management.
What has been like your highest month?
13K.
It has literally changed my life.
When you were designing on WordPress, were you charging way less? Like, what is that like?
Yeah, way less. I think my first WordPress was like $500.
$500 for a WordPress site versus like up to $5,000 for a Showa site.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have Erin of Ruby Works Co. Very, very excited to have you here. Let's dive in.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here, Willow.
Yay. Well, thank you for coming onto the pod. Today, I am super excited to dive into not only your journey, but also how your journey has kind of unfolded into now offering a plethora of creative things. Do you want to hit it from the top of when you kind of took the plunge into online creative work and what that story looked like?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, RubyWorks Co. has been this entity for about 3 years now. And prior to that, I had been a marketing manager for a startup with multiple brands under it. I had been executive assistant to the vice president at a university, and I had also done a lot of project management. But the thing that I kept coming back to was that I would run into something that was either just like not structurally sound, or the design was an eyesore, and like those things I couldn't let go. So I actually started web design back in 2015. So before Canva was something that everybody used, I was working as an admin role, and the sales proposals that our co-founders were sending out were horrendous. So I literally hid in a phone booth and taught myself how to redesign these sales proposals in Canva so they could be more customized, more visually engaging, all the things. And
Love
then
it.
within a couple months, I was the lead designer and rebuilt a 17-page website. So I had a very interesting kind of design through necessity sort of trajectory. And I also learned design from a very practical side of things. And then through a few more like uh, twists and turns through life, I just realized that the relationship building side of things was truly the most encouraging part, and the value of referrals for business. So
Yes.
I really became a designer that turned into a thought partner, and I had in the last a year and a half, I've really figured out what that means for RubyWorks, and I've gotten to take clients with me through every step of the journey, so it's been really fun.
I love that. Well, thank you for sharing. I feel like you got thrown into the deep end in like the best of ways.
Yeah, it was probably some of the best and most stressful work experience. I'm like 23 doing these really big moves and not really understanding the significance of them.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that time. Like I was in boardrooms, I was with executives. Like I've been in the room next to decision makers almost my entire career. So I've been really lucky, and it's been a lot of building the plane while flying it. And
Yep.
so to be able to create systems now and have processes and contracts, and to learn what it's like to be a founder or a contractor versus an employee.
Yeah.
You guys have actually helped a ton with that in terms of learning through the day rate accelerator, and trying my hand. At first I tried day rates and week rate or and website in a weeks, but I
Uh-huh.
after fidgeting with that and really trying it, I decided it wasn't what's best for me. But Beckman Education is all about really defining your business and
Yeah.
like many paths to success. So it was really, really helpful. But I have worked with lots of different types of people on different types of projects, and my figure it out muscle is really strong.
Yes. I love it. What kind of brands have you obviously started in the startup space? Where did the clientele go after that? And what does it look like now?
So that was a sports startup, sport and travels, which was really fun. There's good stock photos for everything.
Yeah.
That was a really great industry to be in. And we had a lot of partners as nonprofit partners as well. Now, the majority of my clients are either beauty and wellness, or they are other creatives. So
Cool.
I'll have some kind of offshoots. Like I have a construction business right now, and I've had an architect recently, but right now, like interior designers, wellness brands, that sort of thing. It's really fun to work with other people that understand the value of visuals.
I was about to
And
say the interior
yeah,
designers and like the world of people that care about aesthetics have just been the best clients I feel like working on creative for. And when you find that client that comes with like the most amazing photos and they have an eye, it's like, all right, I'm actually going to be able to create something incredible with this.
yeah. I actually learned in the last few months, I've added something to my client experience. I don't know if you've heard of Reloom, but it's
Mm-mm.
a sitemap and wireframe tool, and it's so helpful with. I've had very visual and like creative clients from the jump essentially,
Yeah.
and I've also had a few clients that are like in the fitness side of health and wellness, and they tend to be a little bit less visual, a little bit more business savvy. So you get these
Yeah.
kind of pros and cons in every sort of demographic. But with specifically with the creative, really visually inclined clients, I find that if we spend more time outlining the outline, so building out a wireframe, and it creates Reloom creates like visuals where you can even choose kind of how each segment or canvas is laid out. So
Hmm.
showing them that there's this blueprint and now we get to make it pretty and sound good and functional is
Yes.
it takes more time at the beginning, but the buy-in and the trust, it really is like build, 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 and then kind of just downhill.
Yeah.
So a huge thing that's been happening in the last year is learning how um, different personalities and business owners operate and meeting them where they're at so we can have really successful projects
Yeah.
without endless revisions and things that cause frustration and snags.
I love that. And I actually, that brings me to a good question of how has it been going from being this kind of freelance contractor service provider into being more of the authority or leader in that relationship, where now have you gotten to a point where the clients really are able to trust you on those decisions and it in a way actually becomes a lot easier at that point?
Yeah, well, I didn't realize they were waiting for me to do that all along. Like,
Mm,
part of the really interesting thing about my specific career trajectory is like I I was writing copy before I even knew what copy was. I was learning about sales psychology and click-through rates, and I
yes.
was running really big email marketing campaigns as somebody called a project program coordinator. Like I was doing things that I didn't even know what they were. So what was happening, and when we like kind of just intuitively meet people and we realize what they know, my clients and the people I was working with were waiting for me to step into that role. I didn't feel like I had enough proof yet.
Yeah.
So once I had that, it was really easy, and they're waiting for me. And the one of the reasons that day rates didn't work for me, even though like the day rate accelerator was with both you and Becca, and one of the best things was like it was almost like it was kind of a smaller call. I don't know if you remember, but it was kind of that specific accelerator was kind of a smaller call. There might have been like 12 of us on it, but like a recorded
Yeah.
line. And it felt like the best stern talking to of like, this is a contract. It is fair to enforce your contract. Contracts are mutually agreed upon terms
Yeah.
because as somebody that grew up in a startup where everything was, really great opportunity and I was going above and beyond. And that was my edge, right? Was finding gaps and filling them. Going to freelance and contract work was challenging because I kept finding myself in contracts where I was either going above and beyond and not getting compensated fairly for it,
Yeah.
or resentful that like I'm putting subpar copy into
Isn't it funny
something that
how
I'm
that
working really
works?
hard on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree. I can totally think back to tons of sites that I have done where there is no photos. They're like, I just need to get the site live. You can use stock photos, use whatever. And I'm like, you submitted 3 photos that are super pixely. Like, it's gonna just tarnish the site if those go on there. But then if you go stock, it looks like very generic. So I
Hmm.
totally understand. I'm curious when you said that like your clients were waiting for you to take that more authoritative role. What would be some tips or signs for people that are listening that are designers that don't really feel like they have that edge yet? What were the signs that you felt like your clients were waiting for you to do that? And then what would be some tips for actually kind of stepping into that more leadership seat?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. So one of the signs that they're ready for it is when they're asking calmly and thoughtfully versus like in out of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And a huge thing that we can talk about too is there was the types of clients that were coming and looking for an authority, or sometimes I refer to myself as a marketing specialist because
Okay.
it helps encapsulate, but web designer and copywriter fits
Yeah.
a lot too.
Yeah.
But they were looking for somebody that they could build a long-term relationship. They were looking for somebody that would build systems for them because they're wondering, how do I run my business, but also reap the benefits of projects like this?
Yeah.
So they're looking at the business as a vehicle where they don't have to be driving all the time.
Yeah.
And they're also already running successful businesses. And that's a huge difference sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with this. I've had a crappy website. I've had many iterations of this business. I've
Yes.
had previous businesses and little side hustles. So I love the DIYers. I love all of that. I offer consulting calls so that people can pay less and still work with me because that's
Right.
an essential part of the process. But for people that are wondering how to step into more of that expert role, they're asking questions. What do you think about this that are
Yeah.
outside of scope? They're saying, how do you do this? What do you know about this? And it's calmly and patiently. It's not out of desperation once you're already in project.
Yeah.
I
I
had a
love that.
client I had a client in the earlier days with like a firm like web design only contract. I saw her posting on Instagram asking if anybody could write website copy for her within 3 days.
Mm.
And I was like, it was this point of conflict where I was like, I gotta change something because I'm not gonna like the copy she's getting in 3 days, but I don't have the time. And it's not in like it was one of those moments that really was like an aha moment of like, okay, there's a way to do this, right? Like there's a
Yeah.
way. Um, and so to go to something that we were touching on earlier, it's really about just for me, one of the most important things was learning that I knew what I was doing and putting the proof out there because proving myself felt inauthentic. But when I had case studies and I had data and relationships, then it felt really easy to be like, if you want to add website copy, great, I can do that for you. That's what this looks like. These are
Mm.
projects that I've done it for. These are some of the results.
Yeah.
Um, but for example, like I don't do a lot of brand identity, like
Yeah.
physical branding anymore because there's people that do it better, and I would rather write your website copy.
Right. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting to think about how like some people are kind of pigeonholed into being an amazing specialist at one thing. And then the opposite or the other side of that is being like a really good generalist at a lot of things. And I remember very, very vividly when I used to work at a marketing agency pre-entrepreneurship being told you're trying to become a specialist. And right now, I would really recommend becoming a generalist. And I remember sitting with that and actually really taking it to heart and wanting to become this more generalist person because, like you've said, touching on copy and brand and web and like even just not all of those are all specialties, but it's the generalizing of bringing them all together to actually create an outcome, which typically
Hmm.
for a business is more traffic or more sales. So
Yeah.
I love that you have gone that route. You mentioned a term earlier, right, as we were kicking things off, that you were a thought partner.
Ooh.
That sounds to me like a really, really sexy way of calling it a generalist, but I'm so curious what that means to you.
Um, I really, really like being the person sitting next to the decision maker. Like
Yes.
in anything. One of the reasons that when I was an executive assistant, I was like, oh man, I could do this for the rest of my life because I love other people's business. Like I am nosy, I am inquisitive, I like to streamline processes. So I like to build the rapport in those ways, and I like to be like the number two for everything. So I don't need to be the face of things. I've worked facing jobs, and they're exhausting, and my face is very expressive. So
Yep.
me being client facing all the time is a little treacherous. But in terms of thought partner, I really really like reverse engineering, and it was a client of mine years ago that I was just kind of doing a trade, like a lackadaisical trade for business consulting and some light business strategy for personal training, actually.
Mm,
So like very lax. And he said, I've never met anybody that can reverse engineer my ideas into plans the way you can.
mm,
And so I started to run with that, and I noticed that especially being around co-founders from 22 on. The reason I actually got started at that startup is because it was a study abroad company for college athletes. And in college, I studied abroad as a student with them. And I stole a pair of office keys and started going into the office and making coffee in the morning and calling myself an intern. And then I
Lovely.
worked there for 7 years. Like it
Okay.
worked.
Wow.
So I would say be audacious and also follow through. But I was around big thinkers and I call them schemers. Like some of my mentors are just schemers and the way that they can turn anything into a business. And I wanted to do that. I liked it, but it wasn't always, I didn't have to be my big ideas. Like I learned how to reverse engineer, and that was the skill. And so as a thought partner, I'm asking questions, I'm learning the motivations, I'm learning what you do want, what you don't want, and then I'm going to try to come up with an executable plan,
I
whether that's web design, anything.
I love this. Like this is why I'm actually so glad that we are like that I was able to take this interview, because that the way that you even just said that, I feel like is something that I would have said almost word for word. Like
We are alike in certain ways. It's really fun.
it is, and it's so funny because I completely agree with you of that. I feel like I am a perfect number two. I don't
Hmm.
need to be the face. I'm down to
Hmm.
sometimes do it with some humor, but I feel like giving the plans and coming up with the strategy to make the things happen is so important. And I love, love, love that you used the word scheme, because Becca and I are literal master schemers, and the scheming
Yes.
does not stop. And it started so long ago. And it's like
Yes.
those kinds of founders, I personally think are the best people to coach, and they're the best people
Mm,
to work for, because the resourcefulness that comes from building out these ideas
yeah.
is insane. And it's
Yeah.
something that a lot of people don't comprehend how to be that resourceful of scheming to figure it out. So I
Yeah.
love that.
I'll give you an amazing example, and if this gets cut, I totally understand, but it's too good to pass up.
Please.
So I have a email newsletter that's been running. I think tomorrow's week 119 in a row. I've never missed a weird magic.
Damn.
That's yeah. So
Okay.
like 65% open rate. It's a storytelling newsletter. I don't sell a bunch. My mentor says I need to sell more, which is like in my welcome email, but I'm just not there yet. Um, it's just a story a week. It's whatever I'm feeling. It's been running over 2 years now. It's great. I love it. I have gotten it down to a science with anything. You get better at things, you get faster at things, you get more effective. So at the very beginning when I launched this, it would take me like 2 to 4 hours a week, which is insane. But I was learning and really wanted to be storytelling and authentic.
Yeah.
Last week, while on family vacation, I wrote 3 in an hour.
Nice.
So like we do a lot better, but it made me realize that I can turn anything into a story and a business lesson.
Mm,
There's a guy at the gym that always wears jorts, and now that's a lesson on branding.
love.
So I text one of my best friends and I was like, I think I'm ready for my cult now. And she said, huh? And I was like, well, I've just gotten really good at making a story and a parable out of anything. So now I get how people do it. Now I just need to define like what it is. Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Because Ruby Works is like everything is storytelling and like efficiency and systems and integrating design. But I haven't figured out what my cult is yet, but I think I'm ready.
Okay. I like where this is going. So to bring it to kind of present day, Ruby Works, you offer brand, web, little bit of copy, a lot of strategy. What does that actually all look like in terms of if I were to reach out to you now, what do you offer?
Yeah, so in my services guide, you'll see that there is scope-based projects, so branding, websites, copy, and they can build on each other. They can be a la carte, etc. And then the way that I work with people more long-term will be either more scope-based projects, like adding more pages to the website. I do something for salons called Artist Pages, where you highlight every stylist in your
Yep.
salon with their own page.
Love
Amazing
that.
for SEO, all the things.
Yeah.
And then also for more longer-term projects or things that are just a little bit more like slippery and hard to define, I do monthly retainers.
Cool.
So recently I did a whole brand messaging project for a all natural science based skincare company based here out of California. And we did everything from a competitor analysis to a brand messaging overview, writing their boilerplates and some of their framing for like product descriptions versus website copy versus social posts. We went over some story-based selling scripts, so taking themes and values from their brand. It's a legacy brand. It's been around for 30 years, so it was really combining some of the ideas and creating through lines.
Cool.
And then we polished it off with an email welcome sequence for their website to really build up their email marketing. And one of the emails is a note from the CEO and founder herself. And I wrote it as her, and it came back with no notes.
Nice.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Love.
I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, I love that. And so walk me through, why do you like now working in retainer models, and what brought you to that point? Because I think a lot of people that are listening to this have the question of, okay, I'm launching my web design services, or I'm in deep in my web design services. I work with clients all the time, and I always have that question of, what do I do after the site is done? Is there room or work to continue? Why do it? Should I not? All of that. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the retainers and kind of making the scoped project bigger if you can?
Yeah. So I don't put pressure on, because my personality doesn't feel like I don't require any sort of post project, but I offer
Okay.
30 days of email and Slack support. So if you have questions, there's little tweaks. And I mention to my clients, like, if you're going to take an hour and it's going to take me 5 minutes, let me fix it. Because if it got missed, whatever, then let me fix it. So there's that sort of things.
Okay.
Then my secret sauce is that I offer a 90-day analytics check-in with my clients. So in their
Hmm.
offboarding for website projects, website and web copy, I offer actually anything really that you can get data on. So I offer a 90-day analytics check-in, which is just included in their scope, take it or leave it. So after the project, about 45 days after the project, they'll get an invite to schedule their analytics call. And in their offboarding materials, they've gotten instructions on how to put Google Analytics into their website if it wasn't already provided,
Okay.
XYZ, so they can begin tracking data before this check-in. And then on that call, I'll have already reviewed their Google Analytics for website traffic, or if they need to send for like email marketing, if they need to send me the performance so far, I'll go over it, analyze it with them, and talk about maybe opportunities for growth, opportunities for expansion, what the data means. Because as busy business owners, they often don't slow down to
Yeah.
analyze and learn what it means. And there's nuances. Like, one of the things I learned recently is that page scrolls in Google Analytics mean they made it to 90% of the page.
Mm,
But if call to actions are appropriately linked and thoughtfully placed, they might not ever need to scroll the whole
sure.
page.
Yeah.
So there's some nuances like that. Also understanding that they can look and see which page of their website is performing the best, like which is getting the most traffic. So all in all, I sit with them and I show them so that they understand what's working and where the opportunities are. And then they know that there are potential to do a retainer model. And
Yeah.
the retainer model, these people have already bought in that my time is valuable and leads to results,
Okay.
as well as I offer a lot of transparency. Like, you can see what I'm working on, and you can see how many hours it's taking me. But
Mm,
also, it's one of those things that it's just how I have to run my business. And since I work with so many service providers, I can't take on a bunch of project-based scopes and six retainers
yeah.
and still pay attention to everybody. So for me, it is really this idea that it's the most effective bite-sized way, and you know what's happening in a month.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
And so
it's
what does a retainer cost?
it starts at 10 hours a month, and so that would
Okay.
be my 125-hour hourly rate, and then it prorates. It goes slightly down if you choose 20 or 30. And I typically don't do additional website updates. This is a question that I asked you and Becca in person, actually, is how do
Yeah.
you guys handle website updates for your project-based and like week and day rate clients? And half days are a great way to
Yeah.
do it. I am a person that wants more time, freedom, and flexibility to float between projects that are like either have momentum or whatever it is that day.
Yeah.
So I like a little bit more flexibility to be like within the month or within the week.
Okay.
But I have really clear, like, oh, if you want to add on a page, it'll be done about this time. So retainers are also a great way for people that are a little bit more either have a sense of urgency or have a timeline to do that instead of a project-based scope. But I like to have just a mix of things. I blame my Gemini rising if that
Okay.
resonates at
Okay.
all. But it is the retainers are prorated based on how many hours. And one of the things about being a generalist and doing things in-house that a lot of people, I'm glad we're getting back to this. One of the things that was taught to me about being a generalist, because the internet is a hard place to get advice when you're a generalist,
Yeah.
especially when you're good at it, because there's so many specializations and all of these things. And I just felt really behind for a while when in like Ruby Works Co. season one. I
Okay.
just felt really behind, but now I feel like really confident in my skill set and I'm really happy to get to work with the caliber of clients I work with, et cetera. So one of the things that's really interesting about being a generalist is being the thought partner or being the marketing specialist. They save time not having to juggle contractors. They
Yeah.
save headache. They don't have to onboard, learn multiple systems, sign multiple invoices. All of these things streamline the process for the client in a way that I can deliver um, comparable, if not better, results faster. So they're saving weeks of time. And one of my clients, one of the hair salons that I've done, I just looked up the results, over 400 leads in the last year from the website, and they have like no ad spend, no Instagram
Wow.
following. So if she were to put that project off longer, she would have lost, it's about 25 to 35 leads a month.
Okay.
Those are those are appointments that she's not getting because her
Yeah.
website isn't up.
Right.
So being able to be a generalist that can handle multiple aspects of the business and grow and scale them is what's really, really beneficial for the business itself without a sticky, gross style of urgency. It's just
Yes.
true.
I love that. And after you, in your form, I had noticed that you had said that you have hit several 10K months in the past,
Yeah.
currently are kind of chasing other things. What do you feel like you are chasing right now? What's the next level for your business?
I'm really, really like I'm inviting ideas about what digital products would be.
I like that. I like that a
I'm
lot.
not there yet, but I really I really am looking forward and creating the capacity to have multiple clients that are on these bigger retainers. I would really, really like to be able to continue to deep dive. One of the things that happens as a contractor, even with my own business, one of the things that happens as a contractor is I get really immersed, kind of obsessed with creating this vision and bringing it to
Yeah.
life. And then you kind of just give it back. And
Yeah.
so I really want I'm really looking forward to having long term retainers and these long term relationships with my salon clients, because that's been a really like profitable arm
Okay.
and a really effective one. They come back at least once a year because they've either hired more artists,
Hmm.
they've added more services and specialties. Like one was just a hair salon with a nail lady. Now they have a whole esthetician wing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that just naturally need. So I have good retention there. I just had a client acquire another, she's an injector. She just acquired another business.
Cool.
So I really like that vehicle of us working together over time, but I would
Yeah.
really like some more intensive, like 6 month retainers where
Yeah.
we're going through multiple parts. I'm working on a project right now that really may take 6 months. It's a interior design website with 10 different product pages for a customized product, and then an e-commerce shop with right now it's 190 SKUs.
Wow.
So I'm about to be a Shopify expert.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes those are like the most fun projects. And I actually really would push you on exploring the higher ticket, longer term, and more intense retainers, because
Hmm.
there is so much opportunity in being that generalist that can
Hmm.
do everything from swap out copy and a little bit of design and a little bit of brand on a landing page, and then update the emails that are going to come after the landing page, and then like doing all of that. I would say even like in our business model, that's the most important and single-handed, like the most, how do I even say it? The most impactful role that is on our team through and through. And
Yeah.
it's like what you had said about that you can save your clients time by not hiring and onboarding and all the other things. I have found that somebody that can be a generalist at a really high level is
Mm-hmm.
literally worth so much. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll give the example. So somebody that is on my team, she is such an MVP. She's been with me for a really long time. She was a coaching client of mine, and now she helps me with ads, email, landing pages, pretty much everything I just said. And we had her on hourly. She was on 125 an hour for a long time, and now is on an 8K a month retainer, which breaks down to being like 125, 150 an hour plus a rev share model.
Oh,
And
cool.
she is incredible. And what it
Yeah.
is like, I'll even give real transparent context of that. I have tried parting ways with her and going into let me try hiring full-time people. Let me try the best agency that is out there. Like
Yeah.
the options, and what I've found time and time again is that having one person that can do it all is actually like the biggest asset to your business, even if it
Mm-hmm.
costs more, because the efficiency is there.
Yeah, that's really encouraging. That's exactly the type of person I want to be and
Yeah.
think that I show up as. It's really funny. I was talking with one of my old co-founders years ago, and he was like, we never thought you would be this good. Like, we thought we were hiring a little admin, somebody that
Yeah.
could do a little bit of sales, and you barged your way in and really did it. And he pulled me aside one time. It was before I did the biggest website build as the starting point. He pulled me aside and I was like, I'm 22. Like, I thought I was in trouble. And he goes, it pains me to admit this, but you're our new lead designer because you're better than me, even though I've been
Mm,
trying at this for a long time.
I mean, that's flattering. That's great.
It was great, yeah, but it's just
Yeah.
one of those things of like, it's a trait. Like, I think you can build it and you can practice it, but in the grand scheme of things, I think the people that can kind of read the defense, for lack of better words, and understand how to get in where they fit in and how to
Yeah.
fix things and anticipate, it's one of those mechanisms for a business that can alleviate bottlenecks. It can increase sales without you even feeling it. One of the reasons I left being an executive assistant was because I loved it, but the frustrating part was my metric was really only like how easy I made somebody else's life.
Yeah.
So I promised myself that my next role would be equally like relational, but I would have metrics. And so being able
Yeah.
to say that a website that I built has brought in over 400 leads in a year with zero admin and ad spend and 200 Instagram followers.
Yeah.
Like, that feels good. They're second on
Yeah.
Google when you search, and they rank number one for 10 location based keywords. Like, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that it's like shifting into what you exactly just said. It's like shifting into a very trackable result for the business. And I think that with retainers, that's where my mind always goes, is like things like email and like things like that,
Mhm.
where even like right now, Becca texted me a couple hours ago being like, hey, I think that I want to hire this person for like email marketing as a retainer. Like nobody's focusing on it right now. Okay. Like you bring on a retainer, it's a couple grand a month or even
Yeah.
multiple grand a month, and you can see a result very quickly. Like in month one, we should be able to see something. And then by month
Yeah.
three, we should definitely be able to see something, or it doesn't work out and you can part ways. But it's like such a great way of just testing the waters. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I love that. I'm curious what your thoughts, being a retainer based service provider, what are your thoughts on the word fractional?
What do you mean? Which part of it?
Well, like I feel like right now it's such a craze. Like there's this like trend of like everyone went from something, like let's say you were like an OBM, you do a little bit of ops, you're like a project manager. Now you're a fractional COO. And then like in
Uh,
my world, being a marketing specialist, like I see a lot of people now titling themselves as a fractional CMO. And it's just something that I actually typically am pretty against. But for you, I feel like is just a topic worth exploring, in the idea of being this thought partner that does a lot of things.
yeah, that's interesting. We're on different sides of the internet because people are talking about Jet2 holidays where I'm from.
I feel that nothing beats
um,
it, honestly.
I am a little old school in the sense where like I don't panic too much or I don't put too much thought into titles that
Yeah.
are kind of like trendy and ebbing and flowing. I'm actually having a
Yeah.
conversation. I'm going to be brought into somebody else's business, and I think the working title right now is junior executive.
Okay.
We're gonna figure that out, junior executive and copywriter.
Okay.
Um, and I think I am a little bit old school in the way that I don't like marketing fads and trends, and I'm so data backed that I'm like, good website, email marketing, and I like follow these client retention, client
Yeah.
experience. I like
Yeah.
follow these things where if that's what makes them feel good and helps them sleep at night, great. And I understand it's directive, which is nice, like not full-time COO, but this,
Exactly.
cool with it, but it's not something that, unfortunately, the type of like thought partner and kind of like number two in a business, I don't care what you called me because the whole room changes when I walk in.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's one of those of like, I like kind of quiet power where I have had to learn how not to undersell myself. And that's why I'll have the one of the big changes for I went through a rebrand within the last year with a brand strategist, which was transformational. And one of the things we talked about is that my stories and my brand voice and all of these things can be kind of whimsy and zany and
Yeah.
candid and funny, but at the root of things, I am a data person and I am a systems person. And because I have systems and because I follow through on, kind of like linear thoughts, that's when I get creative and goofy. But there are web designers and there are copywriters that have more abstract approaches that are probably more creative than me. And
Yeah.
I wish them all the success in the world. I hope they find their clients, and my clients and their clients are probably different.
Yeah, 100%. I think that that is a maturity of being in the creative world that comes from time. Like I had read that you had been doing this for 8 years. Like I feel like that is a mature outlook in that there are so many clients and new leads that are going to come in. There are so many service providers that it really opens up the room to be different, to all
Yeah.
have kind of our own unique lanes, and that it really does become like a community over competition feeling when you
Mhm.
realize that what you're offering and the way that you're going to create the result for the client is so different than most other service providers.
Yeah. Ooh, one thing that's super helpful, and we'll probably go into like the tips and
Yeah.
tricks category, is so being that I'm a very data concerned, if not obsessed, I use things like PageSpeed Insights. I use a SEO platform that can do competitor analysis for my clients and all their businesses, see what keywords they're tracking for, et cetera. That audits every page for things like alt image tags,
Yeah.
HTML, accessibility, all of that. I would rather somebody call one of my websites boring, which they're not, but I would rather somebody call one of my websites boring than think that it loads slow on mobile. I will
Yeah.
die over that.
I
Like
love that.
that is the way that's the way, the truth and the light for me is making sure that my websites are incredibly functional and focusing a little bit on the development side of things as well. But for tips and tricks, like I teach, if my clients have questions, I will put together a one pager or a two pager for them to take with them.
Yeah.
And I think that helps train them to view me as a thought partner later on for referrals or for their own business. But I was working with a travel blogger, and she was like, "Hey, SEO is a really hairy and confusing topic for people, and it was for me too.
Hmm.
And now that it's something that I'm at least on page SEO, if not other parts of the SEO, I'm really proficient and if not advanced at. I'm super confident and happy to teach my clients what SEO aspects they can leverage.
Yeah.
So there's a one pager that I did for a client that's like, this is how to do your alt image tags on your upcoming blogs. This is how to do this, this, and this. And I just know that I do that during scope based projects. So I always build in a little bit of time. This is actually something I learned from Morgan. So
Mm.
yeah, so we've worked with similar people. I'm like I love consulting calls and picking people's brains. But something that I learned from Morgan was to budget time
Yeah.
for these additional things that you really want to deliver that make it feel good. Because when I'm
Yeah.
too strict, it feels a little impersonal, or it feels like work, and I don't want it to feel like work. I want it to feel like a relationship. So I will do stuff like that. I'll do little guides, and I'm keeping track of my time almost neurotically. So I know if I have already hit that window, I either
Yep.
didn't outline the scope clear enough or it's time to talk about additional hours.
Yeah, I love that, and I feel like it's a really big tip, or something that I feel like we kind of learned early on, was that the client is coming to you for something that they want. They want a new website. They don't
Mhm.
know what they need, right? So like
Yeah.
the alt image tags, if you're like, hey, I need to bill for an extra hour for the alt image tags, you're like, what the actual shit is that? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
you could get rid of them. Like
Yeah.
they
Get
don't
rid of
they don't know.
them.
But then you're like, I want you to have the best and the most high converting and the most functional website. And so it's like kind of pivoting into being that more authoritative service provider in telling your client that this is how we're going to get you what you want. But that there
Mhm.
are going to be some line items for things that make it functional and make it just the best that it can be. Part of
Yeah.
what you want is all of that, but we don't need to actually bring it to the forefront. I feel like
Yeah.
it's such a big thing that I try and help people of. I'll see a lot of beginners go on their Instagram and they're trying to find clients and they're trying to market their services, and they're talking about, if you work with me, you get a 5-page website and you get on-page SEO and all these things. And I'm like, I promise you, the client doesn't want a single one of those things. They want a new website. They want more clients. They want more sales. They want their website to stop sucking so bad. And so it's like, we need to figure out how to get them to want to work with us, not to
Yeah.
want every line item that's going to go on our contract.
Yeah, which is a challenge when you're like a baby designer or a baby business owner deciding, what's in your scope, what is that? But like
Yeah.
really website functionality was one of the reasons that I couldn't do website in a days,
Mm,
because I want to
couldn't get it
test
all
and I
done.
want to optimize. Yeah, I couldn't do everything in a day,
Yeah.
or it just wasn't worth doing it all in a day. Like sometimes you sleep on it and you come back the next day or a couple days later, and it was just easier to like it was too confining to try to get it done in a day. I've
Yeah.
done day rates for other things and I did a successful beta round. Like I've done website in a day. So it's not
Yeah.
anything against it, but I wanted to be able to fit more in. And I really my clients, the one that with the most successful website that I've built, she doesn't know any of these things. And she'll tell
Right.
you that. But she's so grateful she doesn't have to pretend to be an influencer or any of these things, because
Yeah.
her job is to answer the new client inquiry forms and to answer the phone. Like
Yep.
her job is to run her business with a steady influx of new clients. And that's what she wants to do. So she does it. And this is
Exactly.
her first website ever. She was in the hair industry for 20 years without ever
Wow.
having a website before she came to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's big. That's like
Thanks. Yeah, I
an
love it
honor,
here.
honestly.
Yeah, she was the first client website that I wrote copy for. And then we have, I think now it's like a 16-page website. It's crushing it.
Wow. Incredible. Well,
Yeah.
to round things out, what would be
hmm
3 tips? They can be all over the chart, but 3 tips for any other aspiring creative that is either getting into web design or is already working with clients. What would be 3 tips that you have built in your 8 years of doing this?
Um, the first thing that came to mind was don't respond to emails angry.
Okay. That's
Um,
good.
it's a good one. But to always leave it neutral and let if there's a misunderstanding, let the person outline exactly what the misunderstanding is. We live in a very virtual world where people don't always have the same understanding of the terms that we're using. So
Yeah.
keep it neutral. Don't take offense, and be open to learning. The second one would be offboard with care. Like
Mm,
really put effort. Don't just offboarding and reporting out for progress. Do that with care and not just like a throwaway, here's a link, let me know what you want. Like really try to show people. And I do a lot of Loom videos. So I
yeah.
walk through like in this section, we did this, here's why, so that they can understand the rationale behind it. And
Cool.
I get less revisions that way, which I love. And then number 3 is, especially for web or anything that you're doing where you can have access to ongoing data. I have a lot of my clients like Google Analytics reports and stuff. So I can see how they're doing and either affirm, what my projects are working on or just get better case studies. So I like to collect and have proof
Yeah.
readily available, which is really important because, as we've talked at length about, not everybody is a generalist and not everybody understands the like depth and breadth of what I do. So
Yeah.
being able to have data and examples is really, really important for conveying the value of like why to bring this girl on when this person can do the same thing.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you for
Yeah,
those. Those are
of
great.
course.
And last but not least, for everybody that's listening to this or watching this and wanting to connect with you, to learn about what you do, how to work with you, all of that, where can people find you on the internet?
Amazing. So I am at rubyworks.co. So website is rubyworks.co, Instagram is rubyworks.co, Substack is rubyworks.co, and my pride and joy is my weekly newsletter that goes out every Wednesday titled Weird Magic. And you can subscribe to that on my website as well. I do zany stories and dive kind of in the high and low of business, life, etc. And right now, I've been writing and talking a fair amount about how I tracked over 100 habits in the last 6 months so that you don't have to, and kind of
Okay.
outlining what I learn and grow on. So if you want to chuckle over your coffee, Weird Magic is the perfect place to do it.
Heck yeah.
And you can say hi on Instagram or anything like that. I'd love to be in touch.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. And with
Thank
that,
you.
we'll see you all soon.